It was a nearly 3-week trial, and I was fortunate enough to be inside that courtroom for the entirety, watching a jury panel that I often described as being professional because of their attentiveness and just their eagerness to hear all the evidence and all the details. Tonight, we have the third juror that Surviving the Survivor is speaking to.
Welcome to the global phenomenon, Surviving the Survivor. Here's your host, Emmy Award-winning journalist, Joel Waldman.
What's up, STS Nation? Welcome to Surviving the Survivor. This is the show that brings you the very best guests in all of true crime. And sometimes we bring you the best jurors who just served on a murder one trial, which is the case here in South Florida. But I was up in Tallahassee for Donna Adelson versus the state of Florida. And Donna has now been convicted in the murder of Dan Markel, following in the inglorious footsteps of her son, Charlie Adelson, who Ruth Markel, in her victim impact statement, essentially said she's a mother that turned her own son into a murderer. And it was a jury of 12 throughout the 3-week period. It was actually 14. It was eight men and 6 women. For deliberations, it was whittled down to 8 men and 4 women. And one of those women joins us now, Jacey Maxon Walker, juror number 7. And I can now say that I've interviewed juror number 5, juror number 6, and juror number 7. So I can also teach my 6-year-old how to count by telling him the jurors that I have had the pleasure of interviewing. So, Jacey, welcome to you. Great to have you here.
Yes, and thank you.
Yeah. I got to tell you, I was looking, I dubbed him Sprinkler Man, juror number 5.
Sprinkler Man, that's funny.
And because he's the one, Mitchell McKenzie, who I thought, he had served as a Marine for 20 years. He had this look about him. He was staring down Donna. But lo and behold, as is often the case, I was wrong. And then I found out that you were the jury foreperson. Just explain that. When you guys went into the deliberations room, I understand you guys talked about it and you eagerly volunteered yourself. What was it about the trial and the experience where you wanted to lead your crew of 11 other jurors?
I don't know if it was so much stuff about the trial that made me want to lead. Of course, I thought, everything else aside, it was a very interesting trial. So being able to be the foreperson to lead deliberations in that aspect, I just thought would be very cool. I mostly volunteered because I have ADHD real bad, right? And so
you and me both.
If I'm just sitting there and I don't know how other people's minds work and they're just not doing things the way I would do it, I just I don't know. No one really was like, oh, I want to do it. I want to do it. So I was like, you know what? This is my chance. I don't want to waste a billion hours being here. We've already spent 2.5, 3 weeks. So that was really the intention behind it. It was just I know how my brain operates and I wanted to not go crazy being in the deliberation room.
And that's interesting because I'll tell you, I definitely have ADHD, as does my mother, who's a co-host of my show, which not everybody can say. But what was that like for you then to sit through, basically 8 hours of testimony every day with kind of an ADHD brain, hard to focus? Yeah. I'm the same way. Was it tough to focus because of that?
I feel like the second half of the days, afternoons, that's when it got tough because, I take ADHD medication, right? So the first part of the day, I'm great. Nothing can stop me from anything. But that second half of the day, when it starts to wear off, I'm like, oh my gosh. So, Vyvanse supplemented with lots of caffeine.
Maybe I need to get on some Vyvanse is what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. But, so everyone found out about you, which was fascinating because instead of, and this is what's beautiful about the state of media in 2025 is you don't need CNN or Fox News or anybody anymore. You can just go on your own TikTok and you've got a following. What sort of prompted you to do that? to go on TikTok? And then after the fact, I mean, did you have any reservations about it, or concerns that, well, maybe I should have been more traditional in how I approach this?
Well, so what made me want to do it is like throughout the trial, obviously learning how big this case really was, and the facts that every time we'd get dismissed for a break or lunch, they'd have to hold up everybody so we could get where we need to go first. And so it's like, oh, like, what's that for? And they're just like, oh, just, it's a big case. Like, we just want you guys to be safe. So there was that. I found it very interesting. It was 3 weeks. I was not able to talk about it. And so I had the chance, and I just thought it was really interesting. I wanted to share my experience. I don't ever see posts or anything. Like, I guess I don't seek out trial experiences and stuff like that. So not really ever seeing or hearing of anyone's jury experience. I kind of just wanted to do that for myself and just a conversation going.
Yeah, which is, I think, great. And we'll get into like the specifics of the trial, but I am proud to say I'm not the first one to interview you. TikTok was, and then you've talked to a few other people. Mm-hmm. So what is there something that has not been asked of you that you wish had been asked of you? Because then that'll be my first real question to you.
I don't think so. I think I've been asked so many questions, but honestly, I couldn't even remember what all I've been asked. So it'll be like the first time all over again. I don't know.
So what did you know, if anything, at the start of jury selection, when they started asking you questions, what, if anything, did you know about Dan Markel's murder or the Adelsons? Had you even heard of it? I mean, were you born and raised in Tallahassee?
No, I'm not even from Florida. I'm from Minnesota. I've lived in Florida for 6.5, almost 7 years, but I've lived in the Tallahassee area for about 5 years, with the exception of like a year of living in Thomasville. So I am not from here. I did not go to FSU. So, I'm still, it's also hard as an adult to make friends. So I don't know. It just never came up. I've never heard of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So you'd never heard of Dan Markel. You'd never heard of any of it.
No.
Wow. All right. So then, let's jump forward to then, you get selected to be a juror. And there's something I want, there are things that are more important than any of this. And in your case, you have a baby that you're taking care of, and your baby requires a little extra care. You have a GoFundMe. Before we go any further, I just want everyone, because we have a very caring community here, and I think that they will help. What's the GoFundMe for, and where do people follow? We'll put a link in the comments section of this video, but if I talked to you a little bit off camera about this, so I know you're okay with it. What's going on with the baby, and how do people help you?
Yeah, so I have 2 kids, but my youngest one, he was born with a very, very, honestly, it's an insane heart defect. Basically, only half of his heart developed in the womb, and the reason he was able to even make it full term is because of my placenta that did everything for his body. And so, yeah, we found out probably halfway through my pregnancy with him that he had half a heart, and that was tough. It was tough because there's no 2 cases alike. It can be super different for every child. So yeah, his diagnosis is hypoplastic left heart syndrome. And yeah, like I said, some kids, the left side gets developed more than others, some not at all. Some is just barely there. And his just barely there. And so he's had to undergo a series of open heart surgeries. The first one being within the first week of his life. And another when he was 6 months old, and he will for sure have to have one more. It's a series of 3 different surgeries for this defect. With that, though, there's the chance of it failing, that 3rd surgery. I mean, even his first two, they could fail. There's just no guarantee of what our future looks like. We've had to take a lot of time off work, traveling to Gainesville. And of course, I mean, Gainesville is not that far from Tallahassee in, hindsight, but we've spent probably a quarter of the last year in Gainesville, hospital bound for all of this. So yeah, it's been tough. It's been tough trying to stay positive through it all, enjoy every second with him. But I'm gonna try not to cry because he just turned a year old, and I know a year ago I did not think we'd be where we are today. So we've made it pretty far with him, but like I said, you just never know. You never know. His heart could go into heart failure anytime, and that's really tough.
Yeah, that's an understatement. Well, know that we're all pulling for you. What's his name?
His name is Josiah.
Josiah. We're all pulling for Josiah. If there's anything we can do at Surviving the Survivor, please let us know. And if you guys, please go into the comment section. There's a GoFundMe, and the COE and I will put something in there. But really the reason I bring it up is, number one, we're a great community. I always say best guest, better community. But number two, that had to be, I guess, really hard on you, but also maybe a blessing in disguise in that it was a distraction for 3 weeks.
Yes.
How did you see it sitting on the trial for 3 weeks, knowing that your child kind of needs your help? I know you have a husband as well, but was it hard or was it a good distraction?
Both. It's, I stay home. I work full-time from home. I'm also a student full-time. I take care of both kids during the day, all by myself, because my husband, he works out of the home. But thankfully for that period of time, he has a pretty understanding boss, so he was able to switch his work to be home during that time. And he's the best dad ever, so I had no worries. Anytime we got a break, I got some funny messages from him about the stuff that our kids were doing. So overall, like it was hard, but it was kind of nice to not be mom for a little bit.
Yeah, well, all moms, it is the hardest job, and you guys all need a break. And I know I was up in Tallahassee, and my wife, who I call the chief of everything, the COE, and I'm sure you're the COE of your house. Yes. It's much harder than what any man does. So kudos to you, and I'm really praying for Josiah and that he can make a full recovery. And again, let us know how we can help. But so you get to, you say you don't know anything at all about this case, and you get to opening statements. And I thought the state, and you tell me, laid out the case really well. Did the way they laid out, did that give you sort of the roadmap that you needed to understand what was happening?
Yeah, I think they did an amazing job at kind of laying out everything that they were going to be going over the couple weeks that we were there. I've said before, I think in my own TikTok video, I'm a visual person. So seeing how all of the pieces connect and like what we were supposed to be expecting throughout the trial, I found it very beneficial, very helpful.
Yeah, it's wild because I covered a case in Connecticut and they don't do opening statements. And I'm like, they just start. I'm like, how do you do that? But with that said, and I don't want to beat up on her too hard because she didn't have a lot to work with. But what did you make of Jackie Fulford? She's not a typical criminal defense attorney. Everything about her is a little odd. And I thought her openings started, but you didn't really know where, at least for me, where she was going. I'm curious what you thought. Like, did you feel that way?
Yes, I think I felt that way probably throughout the whole trial. I feel like she was very passionate, which I can appreciate. I feel like was good in that sense. She brought passion, and but yeah, I've said it a couple times. Like, I feel like there were certain points in the trial she kind of forgot who she was supposed to be defending. She'd just start, and then it would just go in a direction that wasn't really beneficial for Donna, I think.
Yeah, she's definitely that. I think there's a whole show that could be devoted to her style, but that's her style. What did you think of Josh Zellman? I mean, he, outside, I bump into him outside the courtroom, and he seems nice, but they just, to me, came across as much less prepared than the state. And I don't know if you saw it that way.
Yes. Yes. Very, very unorganized. And I found that very weird, but I kept my thoughts just contained because obviously it was the very beginning of the trial. Had to keep an open mind to hear everything. I was like, okay, I'll just, we'll give him a chance, give him benefit of the doubt, but very, very unorganized.
And And then on and then on the quote unquote other side of the aisle, you've got these two incredible prosecutors. You've got Georgia Kappelman, who's a prosecutor of the year, and you've got Sarah Catherine Dugan. I mean, you didn't know that she was prosecutor of the year. I don't even know if you knew that till
I didn't know that at all.
Yeah, she's prosecutor of the year. But what did you? I mean, they're a very impressive duo that have tried the other cases. Did you get that impression? Was that your gut instinct watching Georgia and Sarah as compared to Jackie and Josh?
Yes. My brain loved how put together and organized and just very on point they were. They had something for like any little thing, like if they had to cross or the defense was crossing their witnesses. They were great. I wish my mind could work that fast, just thinking of things.
No, that's a real skill and it's tough, but I mean, they've been doing it a long time. But also, like, to me, they had a cadence. It was like boom, 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 boom. Like they would ask questions, and then you would get to Jackie and Josh, and it was like boom. Your Honor, can we talk for a minute? And it was
a few minutes later, no further questions.
Yeah. So it was much different stylistically. But so the woman in the defendant's chair, Donna Adelson, obviously you didn't know anything about her, and you hear them tell you, the government, at openings, that there's no look for a killer. A killer can be anyone. When you see Donna, when you first saw her, were you having trouble, I guess, processing that this woman could be a murderer? Was that tough to process?
Well, not really. I feel like anyone can be capable of anything. I know, like, when I first walked in, like, even during selections, it took me, I think, I don't know, probably the first day of trial to even know which one was the defendant. I don't know if it was Jackie or Donna. They didn't make it very clear. But
it's interesting. I don't mean to cut you off, but it's so interesting you say that, because Evan, juror number 6, said the exact same thing.
Oh, really?
He said, I had no idea. I thought it was Jackie, and then I realized it was Donna. But you're saying the same thing. So you didn't even know the difference between Jackie and Donna at first, is what you're saying.
Correct. Yeah.
How long did it take you till you knew it was Donna?
I think it was, like opening statements when they showed pictures of who was who. I think that's what it like came together for me, and I was like, oh, okay.
And was it weird to be around, like, at one point it was 13 other people, then in the deliberations it was 11 that you could like say hi to, but you couldn't talk to them about anything? Was there like a level of frustration there, or were you cool with it?
I think I was mostly cool with it. I mean, I told them all multiple times because I feel like there's a few of them who are kind of uncomfortable with silence. Like I just got that feeling from them that just talk to fill the silence.
Yeah.
Some, just talking about how inconvenient it is to have to be away for 2 weeks, all of these things. I was like, look, man, the silence is nice. I hear mom from 5:30 in the morning to like 8:30 at night. So
silence.
I
have 3 little kids, so I get you. Silence can definitely. That's why I work late. It's funny. I took my wife to see Adam Sandler, and he said, I booked a 40-night tour because I have 2 kids. So
yeah.
But sometimes, like, to what we were talking about earlier, it can be a good diversion. But obviously, like the main man, literally in the courtroom, is Judge Stephen Everett, who announced that he had gotten you snacks, which I've asked the other
Yes.
jurors about. But what? I mean, he has such an amazing command of the courtroom. What did you think of him? What did you get that right away from him?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like he's just one of those people, like he doesn't really even have to say anything. He just like looks at you and people will act right, you know? I thought that was very cool. He was super, super kind and courteous, which I don't know. I feel like it's just, the stereotype that judges can kind of be harsh and not pleasant, but he, I think, broke every stereotype that someone might have, at least that I may have had. He was great. And he took a special trip to Costco just for us.
I heard he made two actually, went back. So that's pretty cool. And then I heard it was your idea. By the way, when you go back and watch this, you'll know I have ADHD because I'm all over the place. But I heard that it was your idea to take one of the empty snack bins so everyone could put their little verdicts on a
Yes.
piece of paper and drop. That was your idea, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So everyone would drop right if they thought guilty or not guilty, and then they would put it into the snack bin. So those snack bins ended up being really important.
Yes.
Before I get back to the trial stuff,
Mhm.
I mean, was it tough for you at the end of the day? And I know you've got the two kids and the husband, but was there a part of you that wanted to go on Twitter or go on YouTube and look this stuff up? Or did you know that you would face the wrath of Judge Stephen Everett, and so you just kept your nose down? Was there a curious part of you?
I mean, naturally, yeah. But also at the end of the day, like I would have to sit in my car for a few minutes and like, okay, wake up. Like I was so exhausted. I'd get home, I'd be able to take like a 20-minute cat nap and then get into our nightly routine. And then I would go to bed and get up and do it all over again. So I feel like even if I wanted to, I just did not have the energy. I didn't know if they were listening in on our conversations, watching our search history, none of that. So I wanted to do right for
Yeah.
everyone involved. I mean, I wouldn't want to be the reason there was a mistrial. I
Yeah.
mean, that's
Yeah, that's a scary thought. But sometimes a little paranoia is good. It keeps you
Mhm.
on the up and up. So, for the government, um, who do you think was their best witness? You saw a bunch of witnesses, but who really stood out to you as the strongest witness?
Um, I feel awful because I can't remember all of their names, but
Is
the FBI agent who did all of the like cell phone
Yeah,
records,
Chris
all of that.
Corbett. Chris
Chris
Corbett. Yeah,
Corbett, yes.
yeah, yeah.
That.
He's Tallahassee police, but yes, he was the
Oh,
governor. Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I think I
yeah.
got him in.
Pat Sanford, maybe.
Yep, I got them mixed up, I think.
Yeah. No,
But
it's all
yeah,
good.
him presenting all of that, showing the different calls and how everything was connected in the mapping. It was a very, I think, he was the strongest witness, I think, for sure.
It's so fascinating because you and the other two have said the same thing. He also, he's obviously a professional. He's a sergeant
Yeah.
with the Tallahassee PD. But if you notice, every time he answers, he'll always look at the jury. Like he's
Mhm.
like da 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 da. Did you find that helpful that he addresses you guys sort of directly?
For me, I don't think it really made a difference.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was cool. You could tell, like, he's a good guy for
Yeah.
sure.
And then what about, and I don't know how much of this you actually know because it's interesting because you kind of picked this up this is a case that's been going on for 11 years, but
Mhm.
this was the first time that Donna's estranged son, Rob Adelson, took the stand. Rob's the one that looks a little like Adrian Brody, and he got up there and basically just wore his heart on his sleeve. Was he effective for you? Was he
100%.
Yeah, how come?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he put a lot of things like, I don't know. He basically just like a stamp of, I don't know what word I'm trying to use. Let's just scratch that. But he, explaining when he got the call from Donna that Dan Markel was shot, just like what he said, how that conversation went. Basically, how she was pretty cool, calm, and collected. And then she offered up information saying, yeah, they went up to his door, said, hey, are you Dan Markel? And then shot him. And he said out loud, like exactly what I was thinking when he said that. Like, how would she know that? Right. And then I don't know if it was like the next day that they talked again, or a couple days after, where she called him and said, don't talk to the FBI. And he was like, oh, well, I already did. And she's like, oh, that's okay. You don't know anything anyway. That was like, that was like a pretty big red flag.
I know I heard that Minnesota, you guys say flag instead of flag. But, you know, was there, I know you all as jurors have to basically presume innocence, right? And kind of keep this open mind. But can you remember a point in the trial, whether it was Rob Adelson or Chris Corbett, where in your head, you're kind of like, this woman is guilty, but I have to continue to keep an open mind?
I didn't have like that for sure solid 100% thought like, oh, she's for sure guilty at any point, like during that listening to witnesses and the arguments and stuff. I definitely was like, oh, this is not looking good for her throughout the case. I was like, okay, noted. I literally took notes of everything. It was ridiculous. But
I'm always curious about that. So like give me an example of like what you would jot down as your notes.
Well, this, I know I might get some backlash for this, but it's okay. I don't really care. When Wendy took the stand, I like wrote down some of what she was saying, but then at the end of it, I was like, she is lying out her ass.
Wow. And you wrote that as a note to yourself.
I did.
Wow. I want to circle back to that. Kind of want to save Wendy for last, but so in terms of other, with the evidence against Donna, so the digital forensics you're saying is incredibly strong. And then as a character witness, Rob is obviously strong. What about when you see the undercover FBI, the so-called bump, when they're tickling the wire, you got this big scary guy, Mr. Bump Man, and he goes, and she just takes a piece of paper and walks away. What was your reaction to that?
I thought that was very weird. I mean, that's not something a not guilty person would do. I mean, like I've said before, I can't speak for everyone in the world, but I just can't imagine someone approaching you randomly, and if you really weren't involved in it, not looking at the paper while they're talking to you. Like, what the heck is this? What are you talking about? But she didn't look at it. She was super calm. And then she just walks away and puts the paper in her purse, goes and gets her grandkids, and walks back at the same spot.
You know, it's funny. I worked in TV news for a lot of years, and I always say like the smallest, and I learned this from a mentor, but like the smallest mistakes are the biggest. So like I could interview President Trump, and if I spell his name wrong, or if I have a coffee stain on my tie, that's all anyone's going to see, right? Here, you know, it's the fact every one of you have said this, that she didn't look at the piece of paper. It's kind of a quick little thing, but it's huge in terms of you making your mind up, I think, at the end, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it definitely helped form the thoughts and opinions that I did have. Because of course, like I was saying, I tried to keep an open mind, and I feel like I did that because I didn't have a solid answer until we were able to deliberate. I was waiting to hear what others had to say as well, just to see if maybe they picked up on the same things that I did. Maybe I was totally reading something wrong. But after speaking, you know, it all confirmed that I caught what they caught.
Yeah. And then toward the end, we get these two jailhouse informants, Patricia Bird and Drina Bernhard, who testify. Now, they're kind of like career criminals. So I'm curious, you know, but then you've got this script that Donna had written, and they kind of contradict each other. But did you find them, for this part of the trial, what they were testifying to, did you find them credible?
Partly, definitely not 100%. I mean, I would feel like you have to be careful with people who are, in custody like that because, I mean, they made it known they were in custody for crimes of dishonesty of sorts. So I feel like any crime is a crime of dishonesty in a way. But, just knowing that they had as many charges as they do, they've been arrested in and out of jail, yada, yada, yada. I feel like you can't really take everything they say as 100% truth. But I know when Miss Patricia Bird testified and she said that Donna confessed to her, I feel like I believe that in a way.
Yeah. What about the script?
The script. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm interrupting you now.
No, not at all. But I mean, because there was an analyst, obviously, that came on, a handwriting analyst, but the other jurors said that they didn't even need that analyst. They knew it was Donna's handwriting.
The analyst, she didn't have to explain, but it was cute. She was adorable. She was very passionate about what she did. So.
She was nervous.
She was very nervous. Yes, I probably
She struck me as uncomfortably nervous, but she was important.
Mm-hmm.
What about, during this messy divorce and these emails that are shown to you? I think this was much earlier on in the trial that Donna wanted her Jewish grandchildren dressed in Nazi youth uniforms and then baptized, which is, offensive to Jewish people and non-Jewish people. When you heard that, that's you got to be thinking this woman is depraved and kind of crazy, but then how do you bridge the line between, is that just one piece of a much larger puzzle?
100%. I feel like, there's a lot of big evidence. So aside from like that, like the digital forensics, what Rob said, because also he said that he hasn't spoken to Donna since 2016. Like that was a big thing. But like just the little things, like that horrible message. I don't even think I was able to contain my composure, like facial expression wise. I feel like I definitely reacted to that. It was just messed up. But I think those little pieces of evidence just on their own, like don't hold a lot of weight, but seeing everything together, it's not good for her.
Yeah, that's like an unhinged mind. People get crazy during divorces, I think, and I have not been divorced, and I hope I never am, but it's for a Jewish grandmother to be like, dress your kids as Nazis is kind of crazy.
Yeah, for all of them to be Jewish and to say that. I make a lot of probably stupid jokes that just really aren't good, but I've never joked about Nazi stuff because that stuff's heavy. That's heavy, and I feel like that's just not. And to be Jewish and to make that joke about your own grandkids because of your dislike for somebody is absolutely insane.
Yeah, I would agree with that. What about Wendy's ex-boyfriend, Jeff Lacasse, who Wendy was very curious about the dates he'd be around. Did you find him to be a strong witness, Jeff Lacasse?
Mostly, yeah. Like I've said, I find it very weird that he was told or heard multiple times about the whole hiring a hitman thing, and he didn't really say anything about it. I feel like maybe if it's like just like a one-time passing joke, I could understand that. But to already note her very weird, anxious, crazy behavior, and then to hear that again and not say anything, it's weird. But he's probably, I don't know, just infatuated, I guess. But overall, I think he's pretty strong because the testimony he provided. If you don't have the same opinion, it's totally fine. But from what he said, it seemed like Wendy and them were trying to set him up as the killer.
Yeah, which is
like you can't change my mind about that. Like that.
Yeah, which kind of brings us to Wendy. So Wendy takes the stand. What was interesting to me going back, because I was in a courtroom, but watching it out, on quote unquote replay, you could see Donna staring down Wendy, but Wendy refused to make eye contact.
She refused. I noticed that. Yes. She would not look that way.
What did that tell you, like, right away? Because now you've got one estranged son, and now you've got a daughter that won't look at her own mother.
Yeah, I thought it was very weird. I didn't know what to really make of it in the moment, but I noticed it for sure. And I just, I also noticed that any questions that were asked to her about anything doing, like what she said, what she did, she would, I don't remember, I don't know. But when it came to something her mom said or someone else said, she was like, oh yeah, I remember that. So it's like, how do you not remember what you said, but you remember what other people said?
Very, very selective memory, I would say.
Yes, yes,
She actually like turned her chair to face you guys to not look at her
yes,
mom.
yes.
Knowing, I mean, there were a lot of things that sort of came out. I actually have a list right here. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. But she that morning she gets a like a kind of a sweet text message from Dan, and there's that. But then you find out that um the day after this birthday party for Harvey, where he's supposed to get this birthday gift, which people said is code, she starts texting Dan, asking him if he's going to be around the dates that the murder is going to happen.
Mhm.
Some of this stuff is new evidence. How damning do you think this is for Wendy, for her moving forward?
I don't think it helps her case at all. I mean, especially because they were able to show us a few months prior when they had in email, her and Dan in writing already planned those days where she would have the kids on, I think, the day she was asking. Like they had already discussed those plans, and for her to be so, seems like on point, I guess, during that time period, for her to be asking all of that the day after this party. Um, Again, that by itself doesn't really mean anything, but just seeing how everything connected together, I don't think it's a good look. It's not. It's not gonna. Just a
Um,
matter of time, I guess.
you sound like Georgia now. So I just want to keep going because our audience is very interested in a possible Wendy indictment. So one of the new things that you find out is that Donna is this OCD planner. So she's like a meticulous planner, and in her day planner, she's got Dan Markel's license plate number for his 2008 Honda Accord. This is my opinion. There's really no one she could have gotten that from other than probably Wendy, who is, in Tallahassee. I mean, did you find that also an incriminating piece of evidence, not just for Donna, but also for Wendy?
In a way, yeah. Because knowing how she was, like being shown everything, the records that she keeps, why would she have Dan's plate number but not Wendy's? She had Wendy's car written down, but not the plate number. And that it's just another one of those things, like stacked with all of the other evidence. It's just, I mean, how do you explain that?
I don't know that you can. And then it goes on. I'm not going to go through every little thing, but also you find out that Wendy created a calendar entry to cancel her cable and get a Netflix and Apple ID. And this is ahead of time, knowing that maybe something would happen.
Well,
And
I
then
mean, she also started addressing her kids, their last names as Adelson before Dan was ever shot.
It's 100% with you. And then getting to the morning of the murder, Wendy calls Charlie to talk about a quote unquote TV set for 18 minutes. Seems strange, right? What are you talking about a flat screen TV for 18 minutes for, right?
Right. One that's been apparently broken for like a month at that point.
Yeah, and she says in a text exchange, Dan says I was being nice. They're talking about the custody of the kids, and then she texts him right about an hour and a half before the murder, and she says to Dan, "This is now Wendy. Nice was fun while it lasted." Now you can interpret that any way, but this is happening an hour and a half before he loses his life.
Immediately after talking with Charlie.
I mean, I don't want to put words. Let me ask you this. Let me ask. Also, she drives about 7 miles out of the way to drive by the crime scene. If you were sitting on a grand jury, if you were asked, hey, come back, tomorrow. We want you on a grand jury for Wendi Adelson. Do you know how you would vote? Would you vote to indict her?
I mean, at this point in time, I guess it would depend on what the charges would be.
If it was a same charges as Donna, first degree murder, the conspiracy, the solicitation, do you think there's enough there?
I feel like based off of just what we've seen during the trial, I don't think so. I think there could be enough evidence for maybe like an accessory or something like that. The same charges, though, just based off of what was presented to me during this period of time. I don't know. It would be hard.
Yeah, Georgia Kappelman, after Charlie's conviction, when asked if they were going to go after Donna, she said, "Stay tuned." And then when we asked her after Donna, she said, "Stay tuned." Do you think Wendi?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh.
she said it twice.
Oh. Yeah.
Do you think that either Wendi, and I haven't asked you about Harvey yet, but do you think Wendi or Harvey have reason to be a little nervous going to bed at night?
100%.
That can't be too comfortable. When did you realize Harvey was Donna's husband, or I don't know that you ever did?
Well, I mean, they mentioned his name.
Mhm.
They said Donna and Harvey were married, whatever. I didn't notice Harvey in the gallery until, I don't know, the first full week was almost over, I think.
Yeah, he kind of blends in, but
He did, but he also, once I noticed him, I was like, wait a minute.
he doesn't look like he's full of like rainbows and unicorns, right? He doesn't look like the happiest guy.
I personally would not want to sit next to him. So,
unfortunately,
yeah.
I think he knows who I am, and there's a Metro Deli. I don't know if you know the Metro Deli, and we went there, and he was glaring at me, and it was a little uncomfortable because you're at a murder trial with a hitman, and then you start thinking, but I'll leave that there. So you sit through all the evidence. Some people gave a little bit of credit to Jackie Fulford for the closing in that she was, I don't know, somewhat together. I mean, I personally am not a fan of her style. I'm not going to speak for you as jurors, but what did you think of the closing arguments for the state versus the defense?
I feel like what I said about their opening also would explain their closing. I feel like let me see what I wrote. I don't know. The state, like, bravo. They did a very good job. If I were not on the jury, I would have thought the same exact thing. Like, they did a very good job at presenting the case, tying everything together, connecting all of the dots. It was very hard to follow the defense, but I think that, like, looking back, I feel like they did that on purpose. Or at least I'm thinking, like, maybe they're smart enough to do that on purpose. But
to what end? To what end? To confuse you guys?
Yeah, to be that distraction, like, yoo-hoo, I'm crazy, not making any sense. Ignore everything that you just heard and form your opinion on me.
What about all her, like, I don't know, her folksy, like, yeah, I don't know what Skype is, and annoying. Yeah. And what about the fact, we talked about this on my show, or my live show earlier today, that she appropriated Dan Markel's nickname, which is Danny. The family Martels, I think, were offended. I was offended by that. Did you find that, like, I guess, at the least obnoxious? And I don't know.
Yes, mostly obnoxious because of the fact that I don't mean to be disrespectful. I don't mean no disrespect. But I feel like if you say it 100 times the way that she did, I feel like that's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, like my beautiful mother always says, "No offense," and then she goes on to offend me 73 times.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's like the same. It's the same idea there. So closings happen. Now, this is the part that no one gets to ever really see, that you had, that not only were you a firsthand participant, but you were the foreperson. Walk us into the deliberations room. What's it like when you first get in there? How do you become the foreperson?
Yeah, well, I mean, we kind of had to, like, awkwardly stand around and wait to be given the okay to talk about it, because the bailiffs had to, like, I don't know, explain things, and then they had to go get the evidence, and we couldn't start talking until the evidence was in the room. Whatever. But once that finally happened, like people were just like, la da 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 da. I'm like, does anyone like want to be the foreperson? And I feel like everyone just kind of gave a look like, not really. At least no one really said it out loud anyway. And I was like, can I do it, please? Does anyone want to fight me over it? Like, I don't mind.
Well, I mean, good for you.
So,
Good for you for taking the initiative. And
mm-hmm.
you mind if I ask you how old you are? You're never supposed to ask a woman, but I think I heard you're 26. Is that right?
I am 20. Yes, 26.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing because I spoke to Evan. He's 25. You guys are a young jury, I think.
Yeah, I feel like there's probably, I don't know, a handful of us in our 20s, I feel like, at least.
But you guys all have really good heads on your shoulders,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought that was, very impressive. I forgot to ask you, but I'm sure it came up in the deliberations room when you got to Donna deciding she's going to make a run to Vietnam on a one-way ticket. How did that factor into your decisions, if at all?
Well, I mean, that's the timing of it all it was just too good, like it's definitely one of those like cherry on top pieces of evidence, because why are you Googling right after your son gets convicted, non-extradition countries? Why are you booking a one-way ticket for a vacation to Vietnam? I've personally never been there. I've only been out of the country one time, and I've been to like 4 states. It's crazy. I don't travel a whole lot, but I feel like that's an odd place to go for a vacation after all of that. Like,
yeah. Well, what you probably don't know is that Charlie had been there, and Charlie had a friend who was kind of working with the Adelsons. But also, what you might not know, and I don't know this to be fact, but the Adelsons are very wealthy beyond just him being a debt. Like, they own a lot of real estate, so they literally. They could have afforded, in theory, like a private jet, but they're so frugal. They buy a one-way ticket, and it's just like that. That is a piece of evidence that continually, like, blows my mind. But, but back to, so you guys are in the deliberations room, and I mean, at any point, did you sit there and say to yourself for a moment, like, holy crap, like, we're now deciding the rest of this woman's life right here, so we've got to take this really seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have that kind of moment?
I think we all did. I probably made us like take votes towards the end, like an excessive amounts of times. Mm-hmm. But like you get to that point when you're like deciding, and we finished going through each charge, all of the elements, and like we got through that third charge. We said guilty for the third time altogether, and it's like holy crap. Like it was heavy. It was very heavy.
And what's wild is you guys did that in like 3 hours and 18 minutes, which is almost the exact amount of time as Charlie Adelson.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And by the way, no one on Charlie's jury, as far as I know, have ever spoken out, which is interesting because a bunch of you guys have come out. So now you let, I guess, the deputy know that you guys have reached a verdict, and then the judge calls you out. That's a very tense moment. When you when you walked out, like, do you remember if you looked at Donna, if you didn't? Describe that whole moment from when you walk out to Judge Everett reading the verdict.
Yeah. So, I mean, first walking out, I felt like my heart racing. I got really nervous and sweaty, but it was really good that right before we went out, they said, oh, the judge is going to read the verdict. You don't have to. And I was like, oh, I was kind of bummed. Because I felt like that would have like really tied in the whole experience. Yeah. But, like walking in, I did look at, judge and then the Donna, the defense and the state before, like I sat down all the way. And once he read that first charge of guilty, my heart sank to my stomach. Like it was, I'm very, very thankful that the judge took that responsibility from the foreperson.
Yeah. I'll never forget it. And I've said this a million times already. Just that kind of that wail, that scream from Donna. There were no tears there.
Mm.
Was that? I mean, you guys, in my opinion, definitely made the right decision here. But did you, when you heard her kind of like wailing and screaming, I don't know, was there a moment of like sympathy or empathy or like, oh crap, anything like along those lines?
I mean, probably like empathy for sure.
Mhm.
Obviously, what she did was beyond messed up. That's not even like the right words to explain it. But I feel like as a human, just like imagine yourself in that position. I mean, you don't know how you would react until you're in that situation. So like I felt for her in that aspect, but also I do believe in our verdict. I stand behind that 100%. So it was just a weird feeling that I don't think I can describe.
Yeah, that's I mean, that's well put because I don't think there are too many words to describe it. So, she's obviously going to get sentenced in October, and she's going to go to prison for the rest of her life. Her son's now in prison. I asked the other juror, I think I asked Evan this, but I mean, here's a family that had it all. Like they were, the father started this dental institute. The son became this very wealthy periodontist driving a Ferrari. They had real estate.
Mhm.
They would travel around. Wendy's an attorney. What? How do you think this family went from that to where they're at now? Just completely destroyed, completely shattered. Two murders. How do you think that happens?
I ego. I think
Mm,
ego, right? I feel like they all had a sense of control, or they thought they did, and they were challenged by somebody, and they did not like it. Um, and so they took things to the extreme. But I feel like it's I mean, it's their own fault. You gotta reap what you sow at the end of the day, because I mean, they probably all thought because they were so wealthy could get away with that type of murder. Like, they were pretty smart, but I think Charlie's big mouth kind of ruined a lot for him.
mm.
Um,
I hope he hears this. Yeah, he's got a giant mouth, and at the end with the victim impact
yeah.
statements, which I know you guys weren't in there for, but
Mhm.
Bill Markel, Dan's father, ended his victim impact statement by asking, sort of rhetorically, the question, "Was it worth it?" And I think we all know that it was not worth it. But the family is destroyed. I guess my final question for you is, um, what was this? It's probably hard to sum up in words, but what was this? The totality of this experience like for you?
It was still is honestly like a whole roller coaster of different feelings and thoughts. It's it was really sad, the whole weight of the case and the reality of like what actually happened, and learning all about that in like a crash course in the courtroom. Um, but on the other hand, it was an amazing learning experience that I will forever be grateful for. I feel like that's just it's hard to get that kind of like, I don't know, insight in your everyday life. And I love learning new things. I'm very I analyze things a little too much sometimes, probably, but um, just I learned a lot. I learned so much about the law, how the judicial system actually works. I got to be a part of it. I think overall it was very cool, um, but my heart still hurts for all of the people affected by this, because I didn't realize the gravity of this whole case until like the end, when everyone's asking me like, did you know? I had no idea.
Mm. Well, I don't want to sound like an old man because I'm really not that old, but I'm significantly older than you, and I'm incredibly impressed. You always hear, "Oh, the next generation's screwed," but after talking specifically to you and also Evan, who is juror number um, 6,
6.
I have renewed faith. I mean, you guys really are very, very smart. Mitchell McKenzie, who's juror number 6, great guy. He was a Marine, did tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. So from STS Nation, I just want to thank you guys for the service that you did. I mean, it's really a very important service. And also, again, I'm sorry you're going through what you're going through with your child, Josiah. But yeah, we've got that GoFundMe in there, and hopefully we can help you. And really appreciate you coming on. And if you have a final thought, feel free to share it.
Oh gosh, I don't know. There's so many thoughts. I don't know. I thank you for bringing me onto your platform and like actually being respectful and valuing the insight from the young people. Because I mean, at the end of the day, we are gonna be taking over for all the old farts who think their opinion is the most important thing in the world, you know? So yeah, it was really cool to see how balanced of a jury we had. We all got along really well. And that was something I would not have expected, just a random group of people getting along, never meeting each other before. It was cool. It was very cool.
Yeah, it's like the bedrock of the criminal justice system. And the irony in all this is that the person who would be most proud of you, and I'm getting chills saying this right now, but it's 100% true. The person who would be most proud is Dan Markel. You know, he went to Harvard undergrad, he went to Harvard Law, and his goal was to make FSU a top 10 law school. And with people like you and Evan and Mitchell in Tallahassee, he would have been well on his way to doing that. So kudos to you. Appreciate you coming on. Please, everybody, try to help Jacey's little baby Josiah, who just turned 1. We've got a link to the GoFundMe. We'll have that in there. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. And we'll be back on the flip side. Love you, America. Love you, Tallahassee. Justice for Dan Markel. And a huge thanks to Jacey. Stick around 1 second, Jacey.
Okay.